Reason God is leading us to just activate all our greatness, get the wisdom that we need. This morning, He said to me, and I'm going to tell you guys that He's moving us from the darkness into a marvelous light. When I get that word this morning, I was like, what a time to have a powerful speaker in the house who is just going to teach you guys, show you guys how she translated from where she was to where she is now and how she helping others. So I'm just going to open up to Charlotte for you to just tell my audience, how, who you are, how you earn all you're doing or learning, and how you've been helping. Take it away, Coach.
Thank you, Joy. It's such a pleasure to be here. So yes, as you said, my name is Charlotte Rooney, and I am a women's leadership coach and mentor. And I specifically help women who are in management positions, but who still have a boss. So they're leading a team, but they're also part of a team. And I specifically help them to balance all of the different demands that they have, taking care of their team, reporting to their boss, taking care of their customers and their clients, and then also outside of work, whether they have children or their children are grown and have left, or maybe they chose not to have them, their partner, their family, the rest of their lives. Because I think particularly, it's true for everybody, right? There's a lot of conflicting demands on our time, but I think particularly for women, we really struggle with all of the different people that we want to be and all of the different communities we want to take part in, the relationships that we want to have. And we're all trained to think of others first. And to put other people's needs first. We want to make sure that everybody else is comfortable. But unfortunately, what that sometimes means is we get to the end of the day and there's nothing left for us at all, which in the short term can be okay, but over time, it certainly for me ended up being a process that I couldn't sustain. And so now I like to help women to see how they can still feel like good people, still honor that desire to serve other people, that desire to make other people comfortable and happy around them, without going so far that they end up making themselves ill or unhappy.
Yes, yes. I love, the way you put that, because most of us, especially women, as you said, we go, go for others. And at the end of the day, we kind of wear out, we have no ability to say no to things we believe we can't do and all that. I love what you're doing. So, while you were speaking, the only thing I had in my spirit is how were you able to transition? How were you able to now start managing your own self, like realizing I needed to, place a boundary. I needed to lead, but not just lead myself in, but really lead from a place of, I can do this. Not like I'm under duress or, it's a must. Yes, it's a must, but at the same time, from what you're saying you're doing with women is to let them know that you can say no. You can have boundary. You can do it now, not wearing yourself out, but do it with a place of being complete. It's not like a place of being angry that you're doing it, because some of us do it till we get frustrated and now realize that we break down. So how did you, when was it, when did it dawn on you that you needed a change?
So I'm going to preface this by saying I don't recommend that anybody else tries this process, but the way it dawned on me that I needed a change was I burnt myself out completely and ended up having to take a significant time off work. I was working as a management consultant with McKinsey. I was desperate to make everybody happy. I had transitioned. I used to be a humanitarian aid worker. And when I had been doing that, there had been that kind of level of service to others and, working crazy hours all the time. But it was in sort of short, sharp bursts, because it was kind of in response to emergencies happening in the countries that I was based in. And so you would have like a period of really intense work, and then you would take some time off, and then you'd go on another mission. But I decided that I wanted to be closer to my family. My siblings started having kids, and I wanted them to know who I was. I wanted to be part of their lives. So I moved to the UK, and I was looking for a job which was exciting to me, was interesting, was challenging, but also where I wouldn't, be overseas all the time. And so management consulting doesn't necessarily sound like a completely logical next step. But I really didn't know what I wanted. And management consulting seemed to me like this, I'm going to get to try lots of different things. I'm going to get to help people. I'm going to get to solve problems. It's going to be great. And in many ways it was, but the pace of it, combined with my deep desire to keep everybody around me happy, led me to, I was working at least 14 hours a day. Sometimes I was working until sort of 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and then getting up early so that I could do my exercise before going to work, because part of my brain was like, oh, but I need to take care of myself, and that means doing some exercise. And so I wasn't getting enough sleep. I really didn't know how to say no. And I was kind of gradually getting more and more stressed. My sleep was suffering, my relationships were suffering. And I wasn't taking good care of myself. And it culminated in me, as I say, burning out. I spent 6 months out of work. I had medical conditions, I had psychological difficulties, I had a lot of support kind of pulling myself back together. And then, just as I was about to go back to management consulting, so I still hadn't quite dawned on me that this wasn't the right thing, I very sadly lost a close family member who had been really instrumental in me becoming the person that I was, and she died unexpectedly and quite young. And it was in that moment, that was the thing that finally made me realize that it wasn't okay to wait until later to fix this. It wasn't, because I might not have a later, because I'd been thinking, oh, it's okay, I'll go back to management consulting, I'll do another couple of years, and then, but I realized in that moment, I might not have another couple of years. And if I didn't have another couple of years, I didn't want to spend the time that I had left repeating an old mistake, recommitting to something that hadn't made me happy. So, as I say, I don't recommend this as a way for people to find out that what they're doing isn't working for them. But I would love for people to be able to kind of hear that lesson that I did eventually learn, which was, your life is now, today, in this moment. You don't know whether you've got the future. And so if you keep putting off the things that will bring you joy, then you may never get the chance. And that thought, the idea that I might never get the chance, was enough to give me the courage to try to change, to try to do the things that I had been so afraid of doing, which, as you were saying, to say no and to risk that other person being upset or surprised or indignant when they made a request and I said no, which previously I hadn't been willing to try. But it was kind of like, well, that's possibly the lesser of the things that I'm scared of. So yeah, that was kind of my journey to waking up.
That was, oh my God. Who, as you say, you don't recommend it, but do you know how many people really did not realize it till it get to that place where it's over? It's over. So it's good that you put it out there, because even in this journey, as I said to you earlier, I realized that people are not living in the moment. They are not appreciating their day-to-day life, which is all that they have. All that we have is what we see right now. Your eyes shut down. You don't know all that struggle and all that stress anymore. It's over, like your loved one. She or he, I didn't get if it's he or she, but none of them do recognize that you guys even went through so much suffer or sorrow to actually, process their transition, because they are gone. It's no longer their worry or their problem. And that is why I love the fact that you said it, so that you, who is listening today to our coach, she is calling you to take a moment and think, are you fulfilled? Are you living today? Or are you just going about doing everything for everyone, for not realizing that even if you're no longer here, those people are going to get through. They're going to get through. They're going to move on. So, and that's how I'm going to come to the question that popped in my head earlier. Like, how do you take this leaders who are under somebody, they have to answer to those people, but how do you help them manage their mind in the most difficult time of living their present life and in the moment, and at the same time be the best leaders they can be for their team and for the manager or whoever, the CEO that they answer to? How do you do that?
It's a good question. So I work based on a 4-part framework that I developed from my own experience, also using 100 years worth of management research and data that we have about what works for helping people to get more done and be happy and fulfilled and motivated at work. So based on that, I created a 4-part framework, which I help people to implement in a way that fits with what they want to achieve. And so the first part is really starting to unpick, when the women that I work with, when they think about what success looks like for them, what does that mean? And so we get an idea of, in an ideal world, we put reality to one side for a moment and we don't let our expectations and limiting beliefs get in the way, and we think, what would perfect look like to me? Remembering that it's going to be different for every person. It's going to be different for you in this season of your life and in another season of your life. If you've got small children at home, perfect might look like, being able to be done work by 3 o'clock every day. So when they get home from daycare, you can spend the rest of your time with them. If you have teenagers, it might look like definitely not doing that because your teenagers are all stroppy and you don't want to be around them right now. It might look like, you might be the type of person who loves to have an hour in the morning of peace and quiet with a cup of tea and to meditate or pray or something like that. You might also be the kind of person who thinks, actually, do you know what would make me feel good about my day is if before the kids wake up, before everything gets started, I'm able to get through my important emails and have a plan for the rest of the day. So we think about that, and I help them to see that there's, what works for you is what works for you. And of course, you may have to negotiate with your partner or the other person helping you in your life around, what works for them as well. You may not have complete autonomy here, but you need to start with knowing what you would like, because if you don't know what you would like, you can't ask for it. And if you can't ask for it, the chances of getting it are quite low. So once we've got that, and we've got that idea for everybody, then we look at the 4 parts of the framework, which are really going to help you to build that life. And those are personal mastery, which is really getting to know yourself, getting to know what you care about, and learning to work with the emotions that you absolutely are going to have as a human. I think sometimes we imagine that sort of perfect leadership is emotionless and completely logical, and you would never have a feeling and you would never have a bad day, but that's just not realistic. So we start with thinking about, how can you learn to not control, so to speak, but more ride the wave of the emotional life that you have. And then we think about authentic influence, because leaders have to get other people to do things, right? And a lot of women are very, very concerned about the idea of influence. It sort of feels like a dirty word. They think it's almost like I'm tricking someone into doing something. which is why I like to talk about it as authentic influence. It's a way of you, as yourself, as the person who is true to their own values, still being persuasive, still getting other people to do what needs to be done, which is the way that you amplify your impact as a leader. And then we think about your key connections, because relationships are everything. None of us works alone. Nobody succeeds alone. Nobody is happy alone. We need those connections in our lives, the relationships with the people who we love and who we live with, the people who we love and we don't live with, the people we work closely with, our boss, our team, our colleagues, our customers, all of those people around us. Those connections are going to be instrumental in creating the life that you want. And when you bring all of those things together, the vision of what you want, that understanding of yourself and your emotions, your ability to persuade other people and to bring them along with you, to inspire them, and cultivating relationships that feel good to you, that make you strong, then what you end up with is the ability to have an almost effortless impact in your life as a leader in your business or in your company, and also as a leader in your home life, because you're using all of these things with you, not to command and demand and, you know, suddenly become some sort of tin pot general, but to inspire and persuade and bring people with you towards creating that vision of the perfect life for you and the people around you.
Let me tell you something. This is one of the shortest training that really mean a lot. Like, this is all walks of life. This is leadership. This is, you know, giving somebody the, what I call a foundation to being the best leader ever. The authentic influence. I love that. You know, it's not just about influencing people, but doing it from the place of, you know, authenticity and what I call original, and, you know, like doing it for real and not a fake influence or thing. Let me tell you something.
Exactly.
That was good. That was good. Thank you so much for actually sharing all that. And now, you know, somebody will be listening like, okay, can you tell us, you know, someone that you really impacted, like, you know, you walk with and they were their life kind of like through the system you just showed us, can you share a testimony with us of somebody that just, you know, took their life from not feeling maybe worthy of leadership, or feeling like the person is a boss leader, not being real, to just going through your program and now finding themselves, you know, just making sure that their life come together the right way and living that life that it came to you for. And you share testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you the story of a client that I worked with, last year already. And she was a regional operations manager for a large company in America. And she kind of was in charge of managing, I think it was 5 different sites for this company. Each of those sites had a manager, and then they had a team. And what they did medical trials, so vaccine trials and this kind of thing. And when she came to me, she was saying on her good days, she felt stressed. And on her bad days, she felt like she was teetering on the edge of burnout. And that she was noticing that she was losing patience with the people in her team, even as she felt like she was spending hours every day on the phone with them, kind of coaching them and helping them through making all of their decisions, running all their sites. It's almost like she was being 5 managers all at once. And that meant that, you know, when she was at home, she was separated from her partner, but she had a child at home. And so, but that meant that when she was at home with her child, she would be, you know, sitting on the sofa, they'd be watching a movie, but she'd have her mobile phone out and she'd be doing emails. And her child is saying, hey, mom, you know, be here with me, be here in this room. But she couldn't, because she, you know, the phone was ringing. She felt like she had to answer it. Her boss was asking for something, or there was an emergency somewhere else. And so she felt completely out of control, really stressed. And I say she was noticing that her relationship with her child was suffering, and she wasn't getting the type of feedback that she felt she deserved for how hard she worked. You know, her boss wasn't seeing her as a really valuable asset. And so that's kind of where we started, was thinking about, okay, what would happen if the people who you are managing felt empowered enough to not need to call you for an hour every morning before they could get going? How different would your life be if, instead of spending 3-4 hours a day walking your direct reports through their decisions, you were able to have that time for yourself to do the rest of your job that you actually need to do? What would that look like? And she was wanting to be able to take time off. And her child was really interested in Gothic history, and she wanted to go on a trip in Europe with her, but she couldn't imagine how she would take 2 weeks off and not be in Paris somewhere on her phone, like she was on the couch when they were at home watching a movie. So we started with kind of painting that vision of what she would like it to be. And then actually the first place that I worked with her was on her vision of herself, and recognizing what she was really good at, where she could add value, where things that she had done were really important. So you mentioned earlier, like, how do you do that kind of managing upwards? People want something from you. And that's one of the first things that you often have to start with is, do you know when you're adding value? Because if you don't know, how are you going to tell the person who is checking up on you or who's managing you what you've done that was worthwhile? And by starting that process of sort of redirecting her brain towards what was going well, that kind of really started to open up opportunities for her. And she started to see, oh, wait, I'm really good at this thing. I'm actually not so great at this thing that I keep spending a lot of my time doing. I need help here. I need someone to show me how to do it better. And so she then felt able to kind of ask for that support as well, and able to sort of see, okay, this is what I do well, this is what I don't do as well, perhaps. We also did a lot of work in that personal mastery area of, for her to recognize. She said that she felt often like something would go wrong and she'd go into a bit of a spiral, and she'd lose the rest of the day because that stress would permeate her whole day and she wouldn't be able to focus, and she'd keep coming back to the problem, and that would kind of throw her off. And so we worked on how to ride that wave, to let the cycle complete. So, because of course you're going to still have moments when you feel stressed, like everybody does, it's a normal human response. But the trick is to notice that you're being stressed, to allow it to happen, to allow it to complete, to use your natural biological functions to remove those stress hormones and come back to a state of equilibrium so that you can then, focus. And by doing that, she then started to spot also all of the opportunities that she had to train her team to feel more independent, to persuade them to try things themselves, to persuade them to also look and see what they were good at. The same way that I was working with her, she started to pass that on. And so they then felt the confidence of being able to not call her, but to make the decision themselves and then tell her about it. And basically, fast forward through the few months that we worked together, by the time we finished, her 5 sites they'd gone from being all on the red watch list of we're not sure whether these sites are performing, to being the top performing, most profitable sites in the country, just by her taking control of what she was good at and teaching people around her to do the same thing. And she did get that trip to Paris. She did go with her child for 2 weeks on holiday, and she didn't look at her email once. And when she came back, she didn't even have an overflowing inbox, because her team were feeling so happy that they're like, nope, we've got this. You go away, you go on holiday. And yeah, it was really incredible what she was able to achieve in just such a short time.
Wow, this story, whoo, That story is to me like a trending as well. You just trend somebody who is in management right now. The process of finding themselves first, then now look at what they are good at and what they are not. And let me tell you something. So she was able to use all that you helped her with to help her team. And now that enabled her free her time to go on the vacation. Or if it wasn't for vacation, any other thing she wanted to do without being overwhelmed when she come back, that they were gonna be stressing, that they're gonna be doing things wrong because she already walked the path with them. That is so good. I'm really blessed. And I know that a lot of our audience today, they are very blessed to know that somebody who is leading under a leader could actually position themselves to answer their leader, answer their team, but at the same time, balance their life. That's what I heard, like their life balance. So not the leader pulling them or the team pulling them, but they're kind of in control of every decision and every day that they live, which is where you are coming from. I love it. I love it, Coach Charlotte. Thank you so much for being here. Now somebody's gonna ask, how do I find you? Do you have anything I can look at, to get to know you better? Or are you on social media? I believe that's the next question somebody's gonna ask right now.
Yes. So the answer to all of those things is yes, I do. So the best place to find me on social media, the place where I'm most active, is on LinkedIn. And that's just, you put Charlotte Rooney as one word after the first slash on LinkedIn, and that'll take you to my profile. That's going to be the easiest place to find me. I'm also on Instagram at I am Charlotte Rooney, so you can find me there. I am offering next week on Wednesday, I am doing a free training that goes more in depth about all of the things we've talked about today, about teaching women how to kind of throw off the three biggest myths we all have been taught to believe that we need to abide by in order to be good leaders. I'm going to explain why those things are not true, why they are actually not helping you being a good leader, and show you how you can use the framework that I was just talking about to be less overwhelmed, to find that freedom and that balance that you are looking for. So if that's something that anybody who is listening or watching is interested in, find me on LinkedIn and you can send me a message. I'll send you all of the details so that you can see. And like I said, it's completely free, just because I think that more women in the world need this information. We need more women leaders because we need that diversity of experience. We need the perspective of women in businesses in the world, because I believe that money in the hands of women, power in the hands of women, is always a force for good.
Wow. Wow, wow. That is so good. Like, what are you waiting for? LinkedIn, ask for the link, be part of the free event. Believe me, you are going to love it. For the few minutes you spend with the coach, we know that, I keep telling my audience, I said, I don't like practical teachers. I'm sorry, I don't like theory teachers, people who talk based on what they studied or what they read, somebody said. I love practical teachers. That's what I wanted to say, and I'm going to say it again in case you didn't hear it. I love people who have been through, have experience. They have this is a practical life they have lived and they are living now, and they are now helping us. Because when I heard the word wisdom in 2024, wisdom to me is experience. It's not just knowledge. Knowledge is, I can read off the internet right now, come to you to just share whatever I read there. Is good. I'm not saying it's not good. Knowledge is power, knowledge is good. But when it comes to wisdom, when it comes to experience, when it comes to practical people who have been through, like the story you shared, trust me, even till now, I'm thinking about that story. And I know you that is listening, you're thinking about that story. That can be you if you don't take charge of your life today. That can be you if you don't know, how to lead, or how somebody can lead you, or how you can help somebody. And not only that, there's something Coach said, I want to, like touch up just a little before we go. I have, as I told the coach earlier, 2024 has been a learning season for me, wisdom year for me. And one thing I realized is we don't have a lot of women in the right leadership or doing the right business or having confidence enough to do what we are called to do. And, Anna, about the religion, sorry to put it right on this, but I'm going to put it. People marginalize women a lot in, let's say, religion leadership. Most people, because why? To me, I believe they are afraid right now. After the study of few years, I think they are afraid because even in the early church, women were placed to be the people that corner the men. The Bible says they always bring them to the place of educating them of what they're doing wrong. And in our generation, we want to marginalize women like, oh, they're not supposed to have business, they're supposed to be in leadership. If power is given to them, they are afraid. And that is why we are telling you that is listening to us, a woman who know that you are called for more. You want more. You want to know more. Not because you want to oppress anybody, but you want to really live your full potential here on earth before you now get to the heaven that we are all praying to get to. I'm not speaking to the spiritual women like me. This is your opportunity to listen to what is happening now and how you can balance your life spiritually, physically, mentally. Because some of us are just so much in the spirit that we are not really leveraging all the power that we have here and who we are. Remember, if you really a student of the word, which is what I call the Bible, you will realize that many things that we are being taught these days about woman and man, go to your Bible. That's what I'm going to say. And read it for yourself. And know that you have the power, that you can change your generation as well. They did it before. You're not going to be the first. And you're not going to be the last. So stop let somebody speak into your head who you are and who you're supposed to be or who you're going to be. Come to these trainings. Coach Charlotte have a training that she's going to be keeping next week. As you see this video like now, run and register and do what? Empower yourself. Believe me, that's all I do in 2024. Empower you, help you to elevate, and also do what? Help you to excel. And that is why we bring all these powerful speakers who are making a difference in our time to just help us pull through our season. So I want to say thank you, Coach Charlotte, for being here. And thank you everyone who, have been following our podcast, here in She Speaks Success. Is a name the Lord gave me directly for this program because every one of our speakers speak success. We love them and we want to tell you, make sure to tune into the next one that we're going to be bringing to you. And with that, I always don't want my speakers go, without releasing a word of wisdom. What is it that you're going to tell a woman listening to us the whole entire hour, like pretty much hour, like that want to pick up their life even before they come to the show next week? Like, what is it you're going to tell them? This is where to go from.
The thing I would say is let yourself want what you want without judgment, without criticism. You don't have to share it with anybody else, but at least be true in your own mind. Let yourself want what it is that your heart wants, because from there is greatness.
You just spoke to me. Oh my God. I must confess, you just spoke to me. This is